You want to talk about the majority of the men in this community are beginning to lose their jobs, that there aren't any jobs for them. You want to talk about that? I'll talk about that. You want to talk about young blacks who don't have a job and who will never have a job because of this system? You want to talk about that? I'll talk about that. Otherwise, you dirty SOB, and I won't say, you get off my porch and don't you ever come back here again. And I pushed him. And then he was scrambling, trying not to fall. And the other one was trying to hold him up. And then they started walking real fast down the street. I said, and it's very dangerous for white folks to be in this community after dark. So you better watch it when you come back here. They'll find you chopped up in the alley. And all the neighbors were out looking, when they finally got out of sight, and the neighbor yelled, hey, Mrs. Woods, they might send 2 others back, but I bet you they won't send those back again.
Hey, Bill Bailey. And I said, yeah. There was a stairway, and sometimes it's hard for me to remember a face, especially if you got your boiler clothes off or something like that. If you in the engine room or something, everybody you get to know everybody. But once he puts this nice suit of clothes on with a collared tie, you lose track of him, see? And I said, yeah. He said, hey, man, I got something for you, I said, you have? Yeah, what do you got? Come on upstairs. And I figured it must be some fireman I knew or some guy. And he comes up, he says, here. And I take it, and it says, the House Un-American Committee demands your presence. You're at the City Hall, such and such a day, and that's what happened. It was a subpoena. And I said, okay, and the guy walked down. I said, thank you, son of a bitch.
What is your name, please, sir?
William J. Bailey. I think I could save the committee a lot of time if you would allow me to read a statement off that I have laboriously put down on paper. If you allow me to read it, I'll...
Did you write it, or did somebody else write it for you?
I'm quite capable of writing my own statements, Mr. Congressman. Why do you make that type of inference? Do I look like an idiot or a dummy here? I wrote the statement.
Were you at any time during 1946 acting as the West Coast coordinator of the Siemens branches of the Communist Party?
Well, where would you get that information?
Is it wrong?
Well, where would you get the information?
Is it wrong?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I decline to answer that question or any other question dealing with organization names or anything else.
All I want to do is just get out there and tell them, go and screw yourself as quickly as possible and get the hell out of the way. And as far as I'm concerned, if they was to ask me ordinarily, are you a communist? I said, yes, you son of a bitch, and I'm proud of it. But in this thing, you couldn't do it,
Why not?
Well, because that was the whole name of the game. I mean, are you a communist? Once you answered the first question, then from then on, you had to answer and answer and answer, and you couldn't, answer only the questions you wanted to answer, and et cetera,
Are you a member of the Communist Party?
Well, frankly, Mr. Chairman, I don't think that's any of your business. I would give you the same answer I have given the FBI, the Red Squad, the police department, and everybody else. That is just none of your business.
Let the record show that the witness has raised his voice in contempt of the Committee of Congress.
I came out of there and somebody said, I heard it on the radio. You shouldn't talk to a senator that way or a congressman. They felt I was wrong, shouting at them.
What did you say?
I said I should have picked the chair up. Any decent American would have picked the chair up and threw it at the bastards.
We are granting you the right to refuse to answer any question that you think might incriminate you.
But don't you think basing myself on the Constitution obligates me to say a word or two about the origins of this? I am a student of American history and have been for many years.
You're ordered to answer the questions only. We're not going to take a lecture from a man who refuses to state whether he's a member of the Communist Party as of this moment. We're not going to take a lecture from him on the Constitution of the United States. We don't think we need it. You will answer the question.
Sir, this is not a simple question. This is a question that goes to the depths of my conscience as an American.
Here's one that is simple, then, if you won't argue about it. Do you believe in the overthrow of the United States government by force or violence?
I must refuse to answer that question, basing my refusal upon the privilege granted to me in the Fifth Amendment And in line with your words, sir, I wish you would allow me to spell out that privilege and what it means.
All Americans.
And why I am evoking it. No, I don't think everyone in this room knows this. Very few people know this. Why don't you give me a chance to state this?
Right up, Bob.
I shall, and I have.
All right, another.
Most of the people they called up before them declined to cooperate. They used the Fifth Amendment, which in effect says, you have no right to ask me this question. But I was in a much stronger position. I didn't have any job they could fire me from. I sang at schools and camps for people who didn't care much for this committee. I simply said, I think your whole line of questioning is something that no American should be forced to undergo, especially under threat of reprisal if they give the wrong answer. I said, I have a right to my opinion, you have a right to your opinion. And from then I clammed up. And after about an hour, they gave up on me.
A lot of people may raise the question, why all this hullabaloo about being fair, particularly when the people you're investigating are a bunch of traitors? In fact, I've heard some people even say, after all, they're a bunch of rats, why don't we go out and shoot them? Well, I agree that the communists are rats. But on the other hand, remember this. When you go out to shoot rats, you've got to shoot straight.
The patience of the American people has been tried almost to the breaking point. And within the next 2 weeks, I shall introduce into the Congress of the United States legislation designed to outlaw the party and its agents in this country.
Now, it just seemed to me that if we're going to have all sorts of bills directed towards this Communist Front organization and another one that is infiltrated or communist-dominated, that sooner or later we should get at the main core of the issue, namely the Communist Party itself and the entire conspiratorial communist apparatus. It was with that thought in mind that I introduced my amendment, which was a substitute for the measure before the Senate. That amendment would outlaw the Communist Party and would subject all members of the Communist Party who knowingly or willfully or intentionally were members of the party, knowing its purposes, would subject them to criminal penalties.
McCarran Act legislated the deportation of foreign-born American citizens alleged to be subversives. Subversive Activities Control Act demanded registration of communists and members of Communist Front organizations as agents of a foreign government, introduced by Richard Nixon. Emergency Detention Act, introduced by Hubert Humphrey, set up detention camps for subversives to be used in case of national emergency. 7 such camps were prepared. Communist Control Act, intended to outlaw the Communist Party. They spent so much money and they spent so much time on chasing communists. I feel like there must have been something. I mean, for example, were you ever asked to, they always say, well, you were asked to transmit secrets.
Never. There's no, I don't know, who am I going to transmit them to?
Well, to spies from the Soviet Union.
I wouldn't tell a Noah spy if he popped up in a cup of tea.
It's about time Paul proved himself by doing something for the party, huh? Have him deliver this to our man in Chicago.
But do you think we can trust him to deliver something like this?
Why not? He's hopped up enough to do anything. And who'd bother to trail him?
What'll I tell him?
Well, you tell him anything you want to. I'm sure he'll believe it.
Paul, I'm so glad I reached you.